Welcome to our Board of Education meeting for May 5th, 2022. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved,
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think I got a second in that as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tonight, we have a special presentation and our pledge, and then the presentation of colors is from North Buncombe High School, instructed by Captain James Sullivan, United States Navy retired. Would you please rise?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Baldwin, and board members. I have the honor this evening of introducing our JROTC programs for the county, as they will be performing and sharing with you a Memorial Day tribute. Memorial Day is a special day and set aside so that we remind ourselves to reflect and never forget those that have served in the armed forces and died for our country. Although it carries a mournful reflection, it also carries a reflection of celebration, as those great men and women live on in our hearts and minds. The ceremony that you will see this evening is called the Missing Soldier Ceremony, most often performed at the beginning of an annual gathering of a military unit called a dining in. Please enjoy this tribute and think about those that have served and paid the highest price of all. Because of our very full agenda this evening, our JROTC will incorporate our colors, Pledge of Allegiance, and moment of silence into the tribute. At this time, I'd like to call Cadet Brown from A.C. Reynolds High.
Color Guard, post.
Forward. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colors. Hold. Flag. Face. Present. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Red. Cut. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Good evening. I'm Cadet Logan Brown from A.C. Reynolds High School, JROTC. As you entered the boardroom, you may have noticed a table at the front, raised to call your attention to its purpose. It is reserved to honor our missing fallen comrades. Set for 4, the empty places represent our men and women missing from each of the 4 services: Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us here in spirit. As the honor guard places each of the 4 service covers on an empty plate, I would like to ask you to consider the sacrifices of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and the sacrifices of all who have gone before them. This will be followed by a moment of silence. U.S. Army. Chief Sir Mitch K. Carver of Buncombe County killed in action on January 13, 2006, while serving with the 1st Battalion, 10th Aviation Regiment during Operation Iraqi Freedom. U.S. Marine Corps. Corporal Michael J. Dutcher of Buncombe County killed in action on September 15, 2011, while serving with the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines during combat operations in the Helmand province of Afghanistan. U.S. Navy. Lieutenant Larry Gene Lewis of Buncombe County killed during non-hostile action air crash at sea on February 27, 1971, while serving in Task Force 77 USS Ranger. His body was never recovered. U.S. Air Force. First Lieutenant Edward Sheldon Guthrie, with the 95th Bomber Squadron, 17th Bomber Squadron, missing in action and presumed dead while serving in Korea November 14, 1952. At this time, I would like to explain the meanings of the item on this special table. The table is square, representing the four corners of the globe to which our military forces are currently deployed. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith in their memory alive. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, a symbol of our continued determination to account for those still missing and bring them home. A slice of lemon on each plate, to remind us of the bitter fate of those killed or those captured and still missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those who have lost a loved one or those still missing and their families who seek answers. The glass is inverted, to symbolize their inability to share a toast in this evening's ceremony. The chairs are empty. These heroes are no longer with us. Let us now render honors with a salute to America's fallen heroes and our POW MIAs, and to the success of our efforts to account for them and bring all of them home. Please stand and remain standing for a moment of silence in a very special tribute. Present arms. Order arms. Stand at ease.
Please be seated. With the cadets not visible, please post. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joe Huff, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent, and I myself am a 32-year Army National Guard veteran, and I so enjoy getting to continue working in a military setting with our JROTC program. I will tell you that it's an essential component and course that offers leadership opportunities that go on to serve our students in the many jobs that they encounter in their lives, and not just military. The ceremony that you have just seen this evening fulfills that leadership component that carries on the finest example of citizenship by reminding us to never forget our fallen and to always celebrate and carry on their legacy. Please allow me at this time to introduce them each individually, these fine men and women. And I'll ask them to start here on the left and step forward and just say their name and what school. And I've already challenged them, they don't have microphones, to use their military voice and to say their school proudly.
My name is Dylan Biggs, Buncombe High School.
64, Irwin High School.
Alex Rice, High School.
Alex Regani, Casey Reynolds.
Take off.
David Morgan, North Buncombe High School.
Daniel Bailey, Buncombe High School.
Monseco.
Undertaking, having all the schools come together. They had one rehearsal. I think they did an excellent job. Will you please join me in a round of applause? Lieutenant Colonel Wise, will you take charge and dismiss your group?
Commander, take charge.
Detail, attention. Hold up.
Madam Chair, this concludes our military tribute for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Huff, and to all the cadets and the work that's done here. Very impressive. At this time, we're going to turn our attention to a special tribute that we have for one of our members, Mr. Max Queen, who was the Inca district representative. At this time, I will recognize Dr. Baldwin.
I think there is truly such symbolism in association with what we're now going to embark upon. And so I would like to ask the board and the public to allow me to take the time to recognize and celebrate the dedication and service that recently past board member, Mr. Max Queen, gave to our school system and our entire school community. I would like to recognize the Queen family members in attendance, Mrs. Janie Queen, wife of Max, daughter, Mrs. Charlotte Clubb, and her daughter, Grayson, is here with us, Grayson Hips. I also want to recognize close friends of the family, Mr. Roger Metcalf and his wife, Anita, and I believe Mr. Ned Fowler and his wife, Alice Houston, if they were not able to be here, they are here. Alice is here. We appreciate you being a part of this. Even prior to serving on this board, I've known Max Queen, being a Buncombe County boy, I've known him for many, many years. He graduated from Inca, same year I graduated from Robertson. I don't know if we crossed paths in high school, but I'm sure we probably did somewhere, maybe on a basketball court or a sports field. But Max, prior to serving on this board, was such a strong supporter of our schools and our school system, and especially the Inca schools. So tonight, I would like to call upon 3 of our professionals. They are going to represent peers from within their particular job area. And first, I would like to introduce our Director of Secondary Education and former Inca High Principal, Mrs. Tanya Robinson, to say a few words on behalf of our district level leadership.
Thank you. I'm truly honored tonight to be a part of this tribute for a man that I hold so much respect for. If we are fortunate in this life's journey, we will meet 3 to 5 individuals that we can truly say are the salt of the earth. That phrase, salt of the earth, is used to describe someone who is of distinguished character and reliability, someone who earns a substantial amount of respect because they deal with difficult and demanding circumstances without any unnecessary fuss. They appreciate and explore all opinions on a particular situation and then make a decision by doing the right thing. Max Queen was the salt of the earth. I have the privilege of living in his community and have known him for many years. Professionally and personally, he understood and practiced what it means to just do the right thing. His foundation for what the right thing is was based on his extensive life experiences, his passionate love of family and community, and most importantly, on his genuine walk in his faith. Max just did the right thing. We all miss him in our varied positions in Buncombe County schools, but we know that Max would want us all to continue the work of our positions and continue to simply and with fidelity do the right thing by one another. We miss Max Queen and want his family to know that his legacy will live on in all of us who knew him. Thank you.
On behalf of our Inca district principals, I'd like to call upon Mr. Travis Collins, principal at Inca Intermediate School.
Good evening, Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, members of the board. 2 weeks ago today, our Inca district principals met at our monthly meeting. We talked about the usual stuff, how things were going in our schools, how amazing our staffs have been, and the support that we get from our families. The meeting was not unlike any other that we had had over the past few months and years until we began to talk about Mr. Max Queen and his impact on the Inca Candler community and our schools. Our meeting became our family time, and it became solemn and reverent and inspired and memorable. Mr. Burleson spoke about Caleb playing football, and when Mr. Burleson was a coach, and that they needed a trainer, and that what they ended up with was Max Queen, who of course became the equipment manager, the water boy, the trainer, and everything else that was needed. Mr. Burleson said that Max Queen just backed his truck up to the field one day and got to work. He performed every role, every day. That consistency, that spirit of putting in an honest day's worth of work to our community and schools was echoed by Ms. Barnhill. Mr. Queen quietly and humbly offered her support soon after her arrival at Inca Middle School, as was the case with Ms. Yates, who said that Max Queen came to see her on her second day of school at Pisgah Elementary School. She said that as they walked around together and as they passed, people just smiled. It was then that she felt like she was in the right place at the right time. Miss Moody said the same. The second day of school, Max Quain came to see her at Sand Hill Venable. And they walked around the campus together, and Miss Moody said that she knew real quick he was not there for show. He asked the same questions that he had asked Miss Yates. I just want you to know that I'm here to help. You call me if you need anything. Miss Harris echoed these sentiments already expressed by others. She knows him better than most. They have been part of the same faith community for years. No matter the place, the people, the occasion, Mr. Max Queen was always the same person, a servant leader at church, at school, at a ball field, in the community. When he spoke, we all listened intently, but nobody was more intent on listening than Max Queen. For me, I feel a little jealous. I only had the chance to know Mr. Queen for a few short years, but my experience was not like the other principals that I have mentioned. And from the moment that I met Mr. Queen, I knew that he was a great man, a great husband, a great dad, great granddaddy. That he was serious about serving our community, and that being a board member representing the Inca Candler School District was not a political office. The moment that I met Max Queen, I knew that he worked, that he listened to, that he represented, and most importantly, that he served our community. Unfortunately, my last walk with Max Queen was on the day of the dedication of the Inca Candler Fire Station 10 in honor of Terry Gentry. It was an honorable ceremony for an honorable man, built on a piece of land that Max Queen brokered for $1. After the service, he and I walked from the fire station back down to the school parking lot at Inca Intermediate School together. And midway down our walk, Mr. Queen paused and he told me that he was dealing with an illness, that he might not be able to be in touch as much. And then he stopped and he looked me in the eye and he said, "But I want you to know something, Travis. This community, this school is special to me. If you need anything, you call me." We walked the rest of the way to our vehicles in silence. We shook hands and went back to our families that Sunday afternoon. Max Queen was not just a good man. Max Queen was a great man. His thumbprint covers all of us. Max Queen was a listener. Max Queen was a servant leader. Max Queen was more than a school board member. Max Queen was a builder of resources, of trust, of relationships, and of a community. On behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you to the Queen family for sharing him with us. And thank you, Max Queen. Proud to be an Inca Jet. Thank you.
And now representing our Inca School District teachers, is Beth Myers from Pisgah Elementary School.
Good evening. I first met Mr. Max Queen through school board meetings and county commissioners meetings where the Inca district or other school issues were being addressed. Mr. Queen was quick to advocate for all schools in his district and other districts, both to celebrate successes and to lend support during difficult times. A few years back, I had the distinct pleasure of teaching Taylor and then Audrey, two of his other grandchildren. As a teacher, when you hear that you're having a school board's member's grandchild in your classroom, it can keep you on your toes. You just want to be sure you do all the right things. Mr. and Mrs. Queen were quick to make me feel at ease being their grandchildren's teacher. I know how much all of his family meant to him, and I know how proud he was of all of his children and grandchildren. Mr. Queen would drop into school to see how things were going. But what I soon learned was that he wanted to see how things were going for all children and for us educators. He took time to volunteer and support the classroom in many ways. If he saw or learned of a need, he was quick to help. Some things he did for others, he wanted no recognition. He just wanted to help and serve his community. Then in 2020, the unimaginable happened, COVID. That spring, teachers along with parents had concerns about this virus that at the time we knew very little about. I made a phone call to Mr. Queen after dinner one night to discuss these events. He listened and reassured, but what was special was that he showed up at school the next day in my classroom and talked with me, but not only with me in person, but he also met with other staff members to calm, reassure, and support. Remember, these were those early days. I was impressed that a school board member was taking time to meet in person at a distance to get reactions from all stakeholders, families, parents, teachers, administrators, and students. He pondered over reactions and feedback from everyone involved, keeping the educational well-being of all at the forefront. On a personal note, Max and I shared a passion for estate sales and antiques. We frequented the same sale in the community, and many people would arrive before the doors opened for business. Mr. Queen always made a point to introduce me as an educator to other professionals he knew that were there. This always made me feel valued and important. He would share with me some antique that was interesting or tell me a story. He was always personable and positive. Mr. Queen will be missed by all of us in the Inca District and in Buncombe County Schools. But he left it a better place. His willingness to help his community will leave a long impression on all those that knew him, as well as those who did not. In my opinion, this quote from Maya Angelou adequately describes the life of Mr. Queen. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Mr. Queen did more than thrive. He had a passion for education and service to his community. He had compassion for his fellow man. He had humor, style, and grace. He will be missed.
This time, I would like to turn to our Board of Education and provide an opportunity for any member to express their thoughts in recognition of Max and his dedicated service. Ms. Churchill, can we start with you?
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. Max Queen was a compassionate and dedicated public servant. He and I served on this board since 2014. What I will remember most about him is his unwavering passion for ensuring that all Buncombe County School students were given the opportunity to be their best. He was contemplative in his decision-making, thinking of the whole school community. But if you mention the Inca Jets, he would be bursting with excitement to share in their successes in academics, sports, or the arts. Max was a dedicated family man and always had a twinkle in his eye and a huge smile when he talked about his wife, children, and grandchildren. Not only did Max make a difference here in Buncombe County, he also served on the legislative committee with the North Carolina School Board Association, where he took the same contemplative approach to how to best advocate for public school students across the state. I know the School Board Association will miss his leadership too. Max was a colleague and a friend, and he will be greatly missed.
I first met Max in 1978 when he and I were in the same nursing school class. He and Jim Freeman used to entertain us by telling us stories about riding the ambulance. Sometimes we listened really well because we were sure we could learn something from them. Sometimes the stories we weren't too sure about. but we listened. After nursing school, we didn't lose touch. We saw each other, occasionally, but not regularly. And then I decided to run for school board. And one of the first sessions that I had, Max came and spoke to me and told me about some resources that I could read and get in people that I could get in touch with that would help my campaign, and it certainly did. And I've had the privilege of serving on the board with him. Some people have said that Max was always saying, call me, if you need anything. And that was what I heard from Max the night that my husband died. He was one of the very first people that called and said, if you need anything, let me know. I will always remember Max laughing and telling stories.
I'm not sure that a lot more can be said from the folks who've paid tribute tonight. I wrote down one word. I don't have any notes. This is completely off the cuff. Max was a friend, and I looked. I was so admirable of and looked to Max. I was so proud to call him a friend because the empathy he had for other people and other things and students in our school system and the service that he provided long before I ever met him. I remember when it was announced that he was running for the Inca District School Board seat, and there were some folks who asked me, because I was on the board, do you know Max Queen? And I've thought a lot about that. I did not know Max Queen at the time, but I knew a lot of people who did know Max Queen because he had touched so many lives already at that point in a lot of different areas. And I felt like I knew him. And they all said to me, well, you better hope he wins because you're going to enjoy working with him. And he will be a positive board member, and it'll be another feather in his cap for all the things he's done for the folks of Buncombe County over a lot of years. And those folks were right. And so to the family, I would say thank you for allowing him to help us and to lead us in a lot of ways and to be my friend.
When I'm feeling emotional, my voice wavers a little bit. And I'm feeling emotional this evening. But when I think about Max, what comes to my mind is his deep, resonant voice. So I'll try to channel that a little bit. My husband has often said that, Max should be on the radio. He has such a wonderful voice. And he used that voice to such good effect. He wasn't on the radio. He used his voice and his passion to advocate for what he believed in, to advocate for our students, our teachers, for public education. He was so passionate, and when he was emotional, his voice did not waver. And I just want us to remember the extent to which we can honor him by joining all of our voices in what mattered to him and this work that we all do that matters so much to all of us and that he was so passionate about. And that if we can join our voices, use our voices, and also our ability to listen, because that was something that I also always impressed me about Max, is not only his ability to speak and advocate, but his ability to listen and to hear, even maybe when we were coming from different places and didn't disagree, to really be able to have those conversations in a way that in our culture so often we can't. We're so often coming from different places so that we can't even hear each other anymore. And I always felt heard by Max. So if we can bring our voices together to advocate for what matters and listen to each other, that will be continuing Max's legacy. And I just appreciate so much the fact that I have gotten to know him, that we got to run together for the first time 8 years ago when we first ran for office, and to share this journey together, and just that we are all part of Max's family, and I'm grateful for that.
I was honored to meet Max at my first board meeting, and I can remember just how nervous and anxious I was going into that meeting, and Max really helped to, excuse me, to make me feel grounded and less anxious, and just remind me of my why. And I don't think Max ever forgot his why on the board. It was very multifaceted. You know, he had grandchildren in the school system, and he could have just looked at things from the perspective that helped his grandkids the most, but that's not what he did. He looked at it at what would benefit the teachers, administrators, other stakeholders in the community. He was very thoughtful, and he would equally weigh the pros and cons, and I really appreciated that. I was incredibly touched at his memorial service, just hearing his story and all the different ways that he has had an opportunity to impact so many lives in not just the Inca community, but in Buncombe County as a whole. And I think if everybody could even make half a difference in the people's lives that he has made, this world would just be such a better place. And so I know I speak for everybody on the board and how much he's going to be missed. And I also want to echo what someone else said. We just really appreciate you sharing Max with us. And I'm just sad I didn't get to know him longer.
I just want to make sure that everybody in here knows the Max Queen, or knew the Max Queen that I knew. The stubborn one. The one that didn't mind telling you his opinion, even if my opinion was different from his. And he didn't let go. Max and I have argued on this board. We've argued on the phone. We've argued in the parking lot. And, you know, I just couldn't always convince him to see my way. But he was there, and he did his research. You know, when you go in and you just try to skim, or I go in and try to skim the surface and make it go, shoot. Max had done his homework. He was quoting chapter and verse of what it needed to be and how important it was in another district, and why couldn't we do that here? That's the Max Queen I knew. And all of you that say all these wonderful things about him, we should have had an opportunity for you to share that experience, because it was an experience. Max could make you do things. As I called to talk to Max during this journey of his, it was difficult to ascertain where Max was, because he didn't open the door and let you in. You had to bulldoze your way into whatever it was you were doing. So I'd call him and I'd say, Max, what are you doing? Well, I'm able to cut this tree. And so he's out in the backyard. I don't know how many trees he's got, and I can assure you he's got a few less than he had then. But he was able to cut the tree. I call him again. Max, how you doing? Well, I'm able to drive my tractor. And he was out driving that tractor. I'm not real sure what he was doing on it. I'm sure some of you maintenance people could probably help him, but he was able to drive his tractor. Call him again. Max, how you feeling? Well, I'm able to go out here at Pisgah and help my son. Not sure what he was doing, but he was able to go do that. One of the last times I talked to Max, I said, how are you doing? He says, well, I'm able to eat. I'm able to eat. And so what I think about Max, while I'm not taking away from this stubborn business that he had, I want us to think about the fact that Max said, I'm able. I'm able to do this. I'm able to do that. It says to me that I need to spend more time thinking about what I'm able to do. And I want to encourage you, as you live your life, and you remember Max, to remember that you're able to do that too. I appreciate Max being able, standing out there in the parking lot, giving me the devil and trying my best to get him to see my way. But he was able.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would you be willing to meet me up front? We have a special gift we'd like to present to family. Charlotte, I'm going to ask you to come up if you.
I believe Ms. McMahon has a point of personal privilege.
I'll do it before public comment.
Okay, you're going to wait? At this time, I'd like to dismiss for a 5-minute break. Thank you all. At this time, we will have the swearing in of our new board member, Ms. Judy Lewis.
The oath of office. I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, so help me God.
I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly promise that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly swear and sincerely swear
I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are
and to the constitutional powers and authority which are
or may be established for the government thereof,
or may be established for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
that I will endeavor to maintain, support, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly swear
I, Judy Lewis, do solemnly swear
that I will well and truly execute
that I will well and truly execute
the duties of the Office of the Board of Education for Buncombe County
the duties of the Board of Education of the Office of Buncombe County
according to the best of my skill and ability
according to the best of my skill and ability
and according to the law, so help me God.
and according to the law, so help me God.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much.
I'd like for you folks to know that they held Max's Bible as she was sworn in. So we have a lot of good connections here and a lot of expectations for Judy Lewis. All right, I believe that Ms. McMahon has requested a point of personal privilege.
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we go on to public comment, I just wanted to give those in the room a little bit of the backstory of what we've been doing all afternoon today. We came together at 11:30, and we've had a work session all afternoon long, talking through capital needs of Buncombe County schools, as well as the budget in preparation for a budget request to the county for the next year. And another part of what we heard was a presentation from the consultants who we had contracted with to do a salary study for our classified staff. And so I just want those in the room to know that this board unanimously and passionately advocated to increase our request to the county commissioners substantially by millions and millions of dollars so that we could fully meet the recommendations of that consulting study that was done for our very important classified staff, because we all unanimously recognize the importance of classified staff in our system and the work that you all do. So I just wanted to put that out there before we go further in our meeting, because we, as I said, we unanimously recognize the importance of that, and it's a big ask of our county commissioners, and unfortunately it's a big ask of our county commissioners because at the state level, that funding is not coming to us in the way that we need and hope, and so at the county level is where it needs to be made up. So we're going to make that big ask, and we'll see where it goes, because this body does not have the ability to raise money in any way through taxes or any other fashion. And so what we can do is advocate to our county commissioners. And I hope that those here and those paying attention will also advocate not only at the local level, but at the staff level to support the important work that our classified staff, as well as our teaching staff and administrative staff, do in our schools.
Thank you, Ms. McMahon. Are there other board members that have comments or questions? Seeing none, I would recognize Ms. Harris for our good news.
Good evening, Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, members of the board. For this evening, we have two pieces of good news to share. First up, we'd like to highlight an important community partner that's helping our students become college and career ready. The College Foundation of North Carolina is a free service offered through the state. They offer a variety of college prep services that are made possible through several important collaborations. CFNC promotes access to North Carolina higher education and assists students with education planning, career planning, and applying and paying for college. Ms. Devin McCarthy-James, a CFNC regional representative, is here to tell us more about why the CFNC is an important resource, and additionally, we will meet two of our students who've received a unique scholarship through the CFNC. Ms. McCarthy.
Excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm really excited to share about CFNC. If you're not familiar, it's the College Foundation of North Carolina, and we were founded over 20 years ago with the mission to help all North Carolinians to plan careers, apply to college, and pay for college. We're so proud to partner with K-12 schools, colleges, and as many community partners as we can in helping students and families to envision and navigate that path to their college and career goals. As the local Western Region CFNC representative, I have the privilege to collaborate with and work alongside so many incredible Buncombe County educators and provide resources and support in the work they do, whether that's virtual or in person. I regularly present at high school parent nights, work with school counselors on tricky FAFSA and financial aid situations, speak at college fairs, and try to regularly share updates and resources, particularly those on cfnc.org, our flagship website for all things college and career in North Carolina. CFNC is a free resource in English and Spanish for all North Carolinians to complete career assessments, connect to the latest career and college information, apply to North Carolina colleges, and even apply to many North Carolina colleges for free during CFNC's College Application Week in October. There's also a wealth of tools and information to help students and families finance college, including tips on applying for financial aid, the North Carolina residency application, and a scholarship search. One College Foundation program we really wanted to particularly highlight tonight is one that is making a big difference for a couple of students in Buncombe County. We actually have those students here today, so I'd like to call them up to stand with me for a moment. Would Charlotte Lanigan and Emily Bennett come on down? Come on down. These two exceptional young women are each Victor E. Bell Scholarship recipients, or Bell Scholars as we like to call them. Each year, 7th grade students from across the state are nominated for this award, but only about 10 to 15 are actually chosen to receive this honor. Emily Bennett is one of our newest Bell Scholars nominated this year from Erwin Middle School, and Charlotte Lanigan is one of our 12th grade Bell Scholars graduating this year from Owen High School. This Bell Scholarship is being awarded to these students for their demonstrated potential for success in college and beyond. To encourage them on this path, Bell Scholars are eligible to receive $2,000 a year, each year, for the next 10 years, from 7th grade through their 4th year of college. As long as they continue to show academic growth and achievement each year, they're eligible to earn the total scholarship of $20,000 to attend the North Carolina college of your choice. Congratulations to Charlotte and Emily. Clearly very excited for this opportunity for them. I also want to invite them to introduce themselves and maybe share some thoughts about the Bell Scholarship Award and what it might do for them and how they feel about this opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Emily Bennett, and I am a 7th grader at Erwin Middle School. I am honored to have been awarded the Victor E. Bell Scholarship. I hope to use it while attending Duke University's pre-med or Mars Hills University's music program. I would also like to thank all of the amazing educators, principals, and counselors I have had. A message for my fellow students. Keep working hard, believe you can achieve greatness, and good things will come your way. Thank you.
I am Charlotte Langan at Owen High School, and I consider myself a creative person, and this scholarship is such a massive thing for people like me to be able to achieve what I love as a career and to be able to go farther with my education. And I want to thank all of my educators and all of the people who've been there to support me.
All right, congratulations. And for our next item of good news, we'd like to have our Director of Transportation come on down. David Roney has a special announcement. He's going to announce our Tracy Lee Calhoun Bus Driver of the Year.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baldwin, and others. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to present the 2022 Buncombe County Schools Bus Driver of the Year Award. Now, this may be the most exciting part of all of this before we even get into talking. Between myself, Miss Ramsey, and Miss Thorpe, we've done a pretty good job of keeping this a secret. Miss Aldette Watts, will you come down here and join us, please? It's always easier to talk about people when you go ahead and can use their names, so we wanted to bring her down, but we did want it. Did we keep it a surprise from you? Yes, that's perfect. We're excited to have you here tonight. So we got a few things we want to say to you, and so each year, Buncombe County Schools presents an outstanding bus driver of the year, and one person is selected to receive what is called the Tracy Lee Calhoun Award. I'm honored tonight to be joined by Ms. Kay Thorpe, who is here on behalf of Asheville Oil. Each year, Asheville Oil sponsors the award and provides a plaque to the recipient. At this time, I would like to give Ms. Thorpe a chance to say a few words.
So I just want to give you a little background on the Tracy Lee Calhoun Award. It's been in existence for about 40 years. And it is presented to outstanding bus drivers in each of North Carolina's 100 counties. And it's an honor and a privilege for Asheville Oil Company to be able to do that for both Buncombe County schools and Asheville City schools. But the Tracy Lee Calhoun Award was established in honor of a young 17-year-old high school student who lost her life when she was hit by a school bus that ran a stop sign. She was on to a part-time job at an oil company in Raleigh. And the North Carolina Petroleum Marketers Association, of which we're a member, decided that we needed to focus on school bus safety and really honor those people that every day are out on the roads delivering our children to and from school. So it is a tremendous honor for us to continue to present this award, and I look forward to doing this again many other years as well. So congratulations, Ms. Watts.
So what does it mean to be selected as Bus Driver of the Year? In simple terms, it means that one person, one driver, stands out as best of the best. And suffice it to say that during a difficult time, during a difficult year, we had a multitude of worthy candidates. but Ms. Watts has clearly stood out, not just for her service this year, but for her many years of serving the students of Buncombe County. I once heard that winning the Bus Driver of the Year award was comparable to being elected to the Hall of Fame. Just by show of hands, how many people in here are in the Hall of Fame? In my opinion, that's a really good way to describe it. By way of your coworkers, your school administrators, the transportation staff, being named the Bus Driver of the Year is truly being singled out as the best of the best. So that's what it means. What does it look like? In the words of her administrator, Ms. Watts was described with this, and I quote, "She is everything a school could want in a bus driver. She never misses a day of work and is always willing to help out." What wonderful traits to have said about you by somebody else. But I wanted to provide a little bit of data to go a little bit further than that, put it all into perspective. Ms. Watts has been driving a bus for over 25 years for the Buncombe County school system. On average, she drives 70 miles per day. If my math is correct, that means that she has driven a bus over 315,000 miles in her career with Buncombe County Schools. On average, Ms. Watts drives her bus 5 hours a day. If you calculate that out over 25 years, 180 days a year, this means she has spent almost 3 years of her life behind the wheel of a bus. That, ladies and gentlemen, is amazing. That is worthy of the Hall of Fame. For those reasons and many more, it's an honor for me to give the Outstanding Bus Driver of the Year award to Ms. Aldette Watts.
David, which district? So it's at large, so Ms. Simpkins, if you could join them, and Dr. Baldwin as well. Ms. Ramsey, do you want to get the vote?
Exactly.
And could both of my good news folks, can you guys go with Han and Brianna outside? Can you guys go outside for a photo with Han and Brianna? Thank you.
Hannah Brianna.
And that concludes good news for this evening.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will have a statement read by our attorney.
It's now time for public comment. Speakers will be called in the order in which they have signed up. All speakers will have precisely 3 minutes to speak and must adhere to the guidelines set forth in Policy 2310. Please refrain from profane language, making threats, or discussing confidential student or personnel information. Please address the board as a whole, and please note that the board will not respond directly to public comment during the meeting. Thank you.
Public comments tonight. The first is Allison Heyman. Please state your name and the district that you hail from. There is a timer up here on the dais. It has 3 minutes. When you get to 1 minute, I will hand signal you, and when you get to 30 seconds, I will hand signal you again.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak here this evening. My name is Allison Heyman. I live in Fairview. I am the lead preschool teacher, early childhood, in a CTE class at A.C. Reynolds High School. 40 years ago, I graduated from Carthage College with 2 undergraduate degrees in elementary education and learning disabilities. However, when I lived in Florida, I obtained my early childhood degree and advanced level directorship certifications. So in Florida, I ran a 50-family preschool where I was director and teacher for 12 years, where I taught 2s, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and universal pre-K. So 22 years ago, I started my teachers at $15 an hour. And each year, it would go up 50 cents or $1, depending on the teacher. For the past 9 years, however, I have been teaching professionally at A.C. Reynolds, teaching the 3- and 5-year-olds preschool program. It was in Florida where I found my passion for early education, and I found a school for her that I became totally engrossed in. I am truly passionate about the importance of early childhood and the building blocks for the future successes for all of our children, especially at my school. What we do in early childhood professional teaching is we facilitate and offer cognitive, emotional, and social skills. These capacities are inextricably intertwined throughout the entire course of each child's life. Our brains are highly integrated organs, and our multiple functions operate in direct coordination with one another. So what we do here as early childhood professional educators is encourage well-being, social competence, strong foundations for emerging cognitive abilities, navigate emotional, physical, health, well-being of all of our children. We nurture their emerging cognitive and linguistic capabilities so they are successful in every aspect in life. And these are the building bricks and mortar to each of our brains and the brain architecture. We do this every day, every teacher, every assistant, and in every classroom. I believe every child should have the opportunity to be successful and find professions. But sometimes I think they should find it outside of education. Because, you heard me, why would I encourage my high school students to go into this profession and make $13.60 an hour? After 9 years of teaching full-time with the most precious of these, it is quite astonishing to me and to my parents that that's all I make. I would also like to see support.
Thank you.
Shanna Peel.
May I approach the board with handouts? Is that okay?
Handouts.
Am I good? Okay. Good evening. I'm Shanna Peel, special ed teacher at Woodfin Elementary. I'm the current vice president and president-elect of Buncombe County Association of Educators. So these comments represent my own personal voice, as well as the voice of hundreds of BCS employees that we have collected via a survey, and now a petition that you're getting a copy of with several hundred signatures. We have come to this board this solemn night during Teacher Appreciation Week to thank Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, and Ms. Churchill for meeting with us last month to discuss the concerns of our staff working conditions. I also want to say I'm deeply grateful for the strong questioning that I heard and asking those hard questions that I heard during the work session. I was able to catch some of that. And thank you, Ms. McMahon, for your comments with your point of information. We were happy to hear that attracting and retaining highly qualified staff is one of your priorities, and that you have conducted that detailed wage study on what it would take to bring our staff salaries up to average wages for the area. We also took your advice and met with some of our county commissioners with our concerns, and we have ongoing conversations with them. What we want most for Teacher Appreciation Week is to provide our students with fully funded and staffed schools. We cannot have that if we have no one left to teach the students, to get the students to and from school, to feed the students, or any of the other dozens of hats that public school employees wear. We are losing employees every day to better paying, less stressful jobs. The living wage for Buncombe County is over $17 an hour. Our classified staff make far below that. Many of our staff are working multiple jobs to keep food on the table. In fact, many teachers don't make a living wage either. I am paid as an 8-year teacher. I don't get paid for my master's, and I make $5 an hour below what the MIT living wage calculator says that I should be making in a 2-adult household with 3 children with both adults working. My family lives paycheck to paycheck. My 3 kids are still on Medicaid. We receive WIC and EBT benefits for food, and I still have gone through the Bounty and Soul line to pick up food boxes on some months. Why is it okay that our school employees cannot even feed their own families? That is not okay. We do understand that funding appropriate living wage increases is difficult given the very limited funding from the state for public schools. However, our students in public schools have never been more deserving and in dire need of our best efforts to overcome inequities and interrupted progress. BCS staff needs the full commitment of resources to meet student needs, including instructional support. Thank you.
Brian McCowan.
Hi, I'm Brian McEwen from Irwin High School. I'm a history teacher at Irwin High School. I just want to thank you guys for your time this evening. I am a history teacher at Irwin High School and the treasurer-elect at Buncombe County Association of Educators. I am here to insist that we must stabilize our workforce and provide more consistent student support by making BCS a just economics living wage certified employer. This will recruit and retain desperately needed high-quality classified staff with a base pay of at least $17.70 an hour and or a 20% raise, whichever is higher. Unfortunately, instead of improving, our current conditions have worsened, and the demands are higher than ever, stretching the stamina and fortitude of even the most passionate staff to do what is best for our students. While our students need our support and expertise more than ever to overcome the effects of the pandemic and years of depleted resources, staff are at a breaking point in their efforts to serve with dignity and fidelity. At Irwin High School, we have had great difficulty in filling positions for classified staff. Existing classified staff who are currently underpaid have to do more work to make up for missing staff members because of the inability to hire more staff. In conversations with classified staff, the word sustainability comes up often, especially concerning wages and the rate of inflation. The classified staff I have spoken to tell me that the current wage is just not sustainable. And I love the community, but I need to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. As we begin losing more and more classified staff to other high-paying jobs, students' learning conditions will suffer. These staff safely transport our community's children to and from school, feed our children, and keep our children safe in the building. Already around my building, I can see the conditions of classrooms have declined with the loss of many classified staff. We're asking you to support our students by supporting the classified staff in our schools who are responsible for allowing our students to learn, by giving them a clean and safe environment. How can we say to our students, education is the best way out of poverty, when we pay the people who make our schools run nearly poverty wages? Please support giving these committed and essential staff a just economic certified living wage of $17.70 an hour. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Next is Amanda Lampley.
Hi, good evening. It's very nice to be here and to be in this crowd. I've been a teacher for 15 years. I'm a teacher at AC Reynolds High School right now, and I just want to say that I'm here on behalf of Buncombe County Association of Educators wearing my red tonight, red for ed. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone in here is wearing red because everyone who walks through that door is here because they care about public education. And I want to thank the board. I know the job you have during the pandemic is a challenging job, and there are times that you just can't make everyone happy, and you have hard decisions to make. So thank you for the effort that you do every day, showing up for the public education of our schools. What I'm here tonight to talk about on behalf of the Buncombe County Association of Educators is a policy that would allow for equity among teachers in the district when they are absent out of class to cover for class coverage. I'm very lucky. At my school, I have administration and support staff who work at night, they get up in the morning, calling the substitutes within our district who we know will show up. Retired coaches, retired teachers who are willing to come to Reynolds, but not every school has that capacity. What we've collected, data we've collected has shown that there are teachers being pulled from their classes multiple times a week, teacher assistants being pulled to cover professional duties. And so we ask that you take a look at this and consider establishing a policy that would be fair amongst all schools. Because while I am here as a Reynolds teacher, I'm here as a Buncombe County Association of Educators, and I want to advocate for all educators in this county. So as I was thinking about this, these are some of the questions that I hope you will consider. What are our assistants being paid in comparison to the substitutes who are in our schools? What are the various policies that differ between schools about how class coverage in a teacher's absence is handled? Where does the pool of money go when a sick day is assigned, but that time is covered by a school's colleague? What are the incentives for getting substitutes in some of our schools that are harder to get those teachers and those substitutes in? And how can we create an equitable policy that ensures schools teachers and support staff across the district receive compensation for completing their substitute duties? So I'll just finish with this. Across Buncombe County, school personnel have been spread in various directions as we navigate challenges and the ever-increasing needs of students and families. So if we can solve one of those challenges by establishing a district policy that will compensate teachers and teacher assistants when they are pulled from professional duties to cover for a colleague, then we should do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is Joan Hoffman.
Good evening. I'm Joan Hoffman. I work at AC Reynolds High School, and I wanted to extend my condolences to Mr. Queen's family, as I was a longtime Inca Jet for over a decade, and I'll always be a Jet. He was a wonderful man, and it was an honor to work with him. I've been a passionate CTE teacher in Buncombe County since 2005, and I have the honor of being the new elected secretary for Buncombe County Association of Educators. I have two awesome kids that attend Buncombe County schools. They went to T.C. Robertson Preschool and A.C. Reynolds Preschool, and I'm so proud of them. I am here this evening to plead with the board for an increase in the local supplement percentage for all public school workers by at least 2% in every category, with a commitment to revisit this on a yearly basis. The City Council is currently considering a 4% salary increase for all city employees, driven by efforts to remain a competitive employer, particularly as Buncombe County floats a wage increase of 4.69% this year, attempting to address inflation that is further exacerbated with our county's affordable housing crisis. This is also what we hear in Buncombe County schools, when we meet with our members and with our colleagues, these same challenges. It's surprising to me that our local supplement has not been increased since 2011. We all know that so much has changed in a decade. The cost of food, housing, gasoline, and other necessities make it increasingly difficult to make our ends meet. My son's Buncombe County School preschool teachers are working for poverty-level wages. It breaks my heart. These positions start at less than $12 an hour. My custodian has 3 jobs. She is such a wonderful and hardworking person. And it kills me that she has a day job, a night job, and a job she does on Sunday. It's just not acceptable. And she's served our schools for decades. Far too many of my colleagues are forced to have a second job. During my student teaching in 2005, I started working at the Biltmore Estate, and I thought to myself, I'll be able to quit this second job in 4 or 5 years. No, that has not, I still work there, right? And I make more money working at the Biltmore Estate on my weekends, on my holidays, on my summers than I do teaching. And I just can't find this to be acceptable. I had 2 colleague friends that left for the medical field, and they make twice as much money as they did teaching, and they have less stressful jobs. We hear every day about our colleagues who just don't know if they can take it anymore because we have to survive. These losses directly impact our students when the adults that they love and trust are forced to leave and go look elsewhere to support themselves. Many of these families are second and third generation.
Alyssa Pedersen.
Hello, good evening. I'm Alyssa Pedersen, and I have dedicated my life to teaching. I have earned both my bachelor's and master's degrees. I've been a teacher for nearly 16 years, 11 of those here in Buncombe County Schools. I'm a proud member and vice president-elect of the Buncombe County Association for Educators. Being a teacher is more than a job. In fact, anyone who decides to work in the public schools know that education is about the students. It's an incredible responsibility. But as the saying goes, if mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy. And if teacher's not happy, ain't nobody happy. If teacher's assistants ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And it goes on. Custodians, food personnel, the bus driver, the office staff. You know what I mean. I'm telling you, from the people, the data here, even though hearing that you're thinking about these, and I've heard some lovely things at your work session, we greatly appreciate it, but we've been talking to people, and people are not happy. We're feeling that we're overworked, we're feeling undervalued, and we're not asking you to fix all the woes of public education. That's not your job. But there is something you can do to make us feel better and that you have our back. And that's to match the ESSER retention bonuses that some of our neighboring school systems like Madison and Haywood and Asheville City Schools, all of whom have pledged more in bonuses to their employees than BCS has to ours. Specifically, we'd like you to match Asheville City Schools, who have pledged $3,000 to certified staff and $3,500 to classified staff. And you can compare those numbers to the $1,200 offered to BCF's employees. Now, $1,200 is nothing to sneeze at, but we're worth just as much as the employees in those other school systems. It's a sticky topic. You were talking about this earlier, and we greatly appreciate that. But the precedent has been set. The employees of those other schools deserve those bonuses. But we in Buncombe County Schools, we deserve them too. We worked and we continue to work just as hard, and you want to keep us. Buncombe County Schools received over $71 million from the federal government for emergency relief funds. And it seems like much of that is already earmarked. And I'm sure you all feel like you've prioritized the right things. There's difficult choices, but you have, I think you said, $58 million unspent dollars earmarked, but we want you to prioritize personnel. The best student learning outcomes are directly tied to teacher and staff satisfaction. We're respectfully asking that you honor the commitment you made at your November board meeting to revisit increasing bonuses for BCS staff. Help us feel valued, because if the teachers aren't happy, ain't nobody happy. Thank you for your time and consideration of our request tonight and for advocating for us earlier. It is our sincere hope that you will present a budget.
Thank you.
Zen Honeycutt?
Has, flyers, materials. Thank you. All right, good evening, and thank you for your attention. My name is Zen Honeycutt, and I'm the proud daughter of 2 public school teachers. I'm also the parent of 2 children in Buncombe County Public Schools. One of my sons, formerly a straight A student, outgoing, happy kid, recently told us that he felt depressed. We were totally surprised, and at that time he was getting a 30 and a 50 in his 2 favorite classes. This is his junior year, the most important year for college applications, and the fact is that his chances of getting into a top-tier college have just been severely impacted. After having researched wireless radiation for several years now, I wondered if the wireless radiation in the classes from the routers were a contributing factor. And I have been asking the school board to address this issue for a year now, and I bring this issue to again because it continues to be an urgent safety issue. The Atlantic just published an article saying that 56.5% of teens are depressed now. And in a 2015 study on EMFs published by Dr. Martin Paul, published in the Journal of Chemical Neuroanatomy, it's peer-reviewed, he said, regarding the impact of non-thermal EMFs on the brain, extensive epidemiological studies performed over the past 50 years and 5 criteria for causality all collectively show that non-thermal microwave EMF exposures produced diverse neuropsychiatric effects. And in a recent EMF Hazard Summit, which I will send you a clip of, there was a doctor that shared that a girl was sitting under a router at school. She asked to be moved. She was denied that request, and she committed suicide. I do not want that to happen here. My son is here tonight. He will tell you about his experience. And I am asking the board, do we have to lose one of our children to suicide for us to pay attention to this issue? I hope not. So I'm asking you to form a committee to address the issues at the levels of wireless exposure in schools and to reduce the exposure to our children. And this would start with consistently measuring the levels. There's a school called Limbrick School. I gave you a handout on that. They did an assessment. They lowered their levels by 81 to 98%. We can do that. And all of the devices will still work perfectly fine. And so I'm just asking for everybody to pay attention to this issue and to take action. And I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Tierney.
I'm Mary Ann Tierney from the Reynolds District. I'm a registered nurse, an electromagnetic radiation specialist, and the director of Safe Tech NC. During the enrollment process for my kindergartner in 2016, I presented my concerns about wireless radiation in schools to the BCS administrators and board. I learned BCS follows the safety standards of the FCC, which is not a health agency. The wireless routers in schools emit the same radiation as cell phones, yet at far more extreme levels, at least 25,000 microwatts per meter square at 6 feet away. Unbiased standards by the European Academy of Environmental Medicine and the Building Biology Institute call for 10 or less microwatts. Since 2015, Harvard's Center for Ethics published an investigative report, Captured Agency, documenting the revolving door between the wireless industry and the FCC. Last August, the U.S. Court of Appeals found the FCC guilty of ignoring the enormous body of evidence of health effects from radiation at levels far below the FCC limits. Its 26-year-old standards account only for the heating of skin, no long-term effects from 15,000 studies. Clear evidence of carcinogenesis and DNA damage were found from cell phone radiation by the National Toxicology Program in its $30 million study. NTP is part of the National Institutes of Health, our government. That study prompted the American Academy of Pediatrics to issue safety guidelines. These doctors and the California and Massachusetts medical societies have urged the FCC to change its standards. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology's study at the U.S. Military Academy found students using computers in classrooms had final scores 18% of a standard deviation lower than scores of students in classrooms that prohibit computers. Please implement simple, free solutions to provide radiation-free schools for our teachers and our beloved students. These ideas are included in Zen's packet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Todd Honeycutt.
Hi there. I'm Todd Honeycutt. I'm from Buncombe County. My wife is Zen, and she has repeatedly written and made personal requests of the school board, the technology director, and principals for over a year. The fact is that the response has been insufficient to fulfill the legal obligation to provide a safe school environment. The science is very clear. Our children are being exposed to harmful wireless radiation. We are asking you to take action to protect our children. My wife has taken 3 measurements of the radiation at the school with a professional meter at the readings of 7,500, 37,000, and 1.7 million microwatts per square meter. The European guidelines for wireless radiation exposure for a duration of only 6 minutes is 10 microwatts per square meter during the day, 1 at night, and 0.1 for sensitive groups. Children are sensitive groups. It is important to understand the signal level required to obtain the maximum speed from a Wi-Fi router is less than 0.01 microwatts per square meter. The fact is, the level of Wi-Fi is much higher than is needed for our children's devices to work properly. We are asking you to form a committee to consider and address the following questions. 1, would you consider turning the power down to no higher than 20% for the entire district? 2, would you consider a professional assessment once the power density is reduced? 3, would you consider a cell phone policy for all the schools, including no cell phone use in class? 4, would you consider working with the facility to reduce the use of wireless devices with more of a focus on actual books? 5, would you consider moving all the wireless access points in the district to a location in the rooms with the least traffic? And 6, consider on-off controls in classrooms so teachers can turn it off only when it's needed, turn it on when it's needed, and this would be accompanied with training for the teachers on how to use that. I'm asking to form a committee to take action immediately to prevent loss of potential of our students, providing you with step-by-step actions from the Tech Safe School programs and the handouts you have that can be taken immediately to reduce the levels of exposure to our children. Other schools have done this. We can too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And it's Bodie Honeycutt.
Hi, my name is Bodie Honeycutt, and I'm a junior from North Buncombe High School. And I'm here today because I want to ask the board to do whatever you can to reduce the levels of wireless radiation in schools. I've been a straight-A student for years, and recently I started to feel depressed and unable to focus at school. My grades dropped from a D in pre-cal honors math and an F in AP English. Those are my favorite classes. During this time, I noticed I had been sitting underneath the router in almost every single classroom. I sat away from the router, and I felt better and was able to focus. This makes me wonder, though, what if the router was turned off? How much better could I think and learn? What about the other kids that are sitting underneath the router and don't know about the risks? I know my experience is only one example, so I have a statement from an expert for you as well. Alan Brennan became Ireland's 7th certified wireless professional and founded Wi-Fi Projects Limited. In 2004, the company became Ireland's first certified wireless network provider. He was awarded Fellow of the Irish Computer Society and for his contribution and promotion of the Irish wireless industry. At no point during his career in the wireless industry was he aware or informed about the known thermal exposure health risks and microwave hearing. He sends this statement specifically for our North Buncombe County Board meeting. I quote, "As someone who thoroughly believed in the benefits and capabilities of wireless technology, I was completely unaware that the intense Wi-Fi exposure could cause adverse health effects in children. Headaches, earaches, sore eyes, stomach, nosebleeds, skin rash, brain fog, depression, and more. I did not know that children had been identified as a high-risk group in 2011. In order to protect our children's best interests, schools should use wired networks, not Wi-Fi. If a school is using Wi-Fi, the least they can do is adhere to the precautionary, as low as reasonably achievable, ALRA principles. For example, turn on Wi-Fi when needed and turn off when finished." End quote. I submit to you his specific technical recommendations. I hope you will work with the technology director and implement the guidance that the Tech Safe School provides to reduce the exposure to wireless radiation to all students in our school district. We all need the help we can we need all the help we can get to think clearly and do well in school. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Roger Metcalf.
Roger Metcalf from the Uinta District. In my eulogy to my buddy Max Queen, I talked about his use of the term winner, winner, chicken dinner. I know you thought that phrase was exclusive to Rocky's Chicken Shack. Max and I often talked about teachers, bus drivers, principals, all of you who spend your days trying to make someone else's life better. Those of you who lay awake at night worrying about abused and neglected children. Those of you who give up your lunch money so some kid can have a decent meal today. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. What a sad commentary that we set aside only 1 week a year to honor and appreciate those wonderful people who mean so much to our children. Every week should be a Teacher Appreciation Week. Every week should be a Principal Appreciation Week. Every week should be Bus Driver Appreciation Week.
4 different properties, fences taken out. We've seen cars upside down that have wrecked. Property damage. So it's like walking with kids at 2:30 is not the thing we want to do. But I just don't know, honestly. We're kind of passionate on our kids, but I don't know what other parents do that go to that school. You know, I'm like, a lot of these teachers here, they're working second jobs. There's parents we know that are probably working 2 and 3 jobs, and just getting food on the table, getting through today is all they can do. I'm fortunate enough, I have a master's degree. I was also the kid that didn't think they would graduate high school. I managed to go get a master's. I didn't go into teaching. I'm sorry that y'all are making that. It's bad that Walmart pays you $18 an hour to stock and $20 an hour at Sonic. That's pathetic. But maybe that's part of the problem is staffing. The pay is that you can't get enough people there, so I feel for staff, but it wears on us every year. It's just a slog through the school system. I just say it's tough, and I do feel for a lot of parents that maybe cannot make a meeting and sign in here by 5:15 because they're working till 6. So my time is up. 3 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Don Yelton.
You never get it right, do you? You're catching it from all sides, radiation and whatever. But I took some notes. I want to share these with you. $70 million bond is being floated by Buncombe County. They voted on it this past Tuesday, and it's guaranteed by property taxes. They've gotten $50 million, actually only 25 right now. They're getting $50 million from COVID. They're getting $17 million from the opioid. Better add it up, and you might want to get some of that money before they buy up property rights and roadways and, you know, stuff like that, which we've got plenty of. It's a good idea, I think. And then somebody mentioned $71 million you all got. The state budget, the last time I checked, 53% of it went to education, folks. I'm not against anybody making a decent living. I'm not against anybody making good money. And teachers that work with kids and do kids right is rough and hard, I know. But teachers used to get in teaching because they wanted to impress the young people, and it wasn't for the money. Now, I strongly suggest you review what was said by Mr. Queen. And I suggest that each of you, and I'm looking at every one of you, I'm not pulling out anybody in particular. I'll even throw the attorney in so he don't mind that. He and I go back a long way. I strongly suggest you review what was said about Mr. Queen. Do you listen to the people? Do you walk and talk the halls and talk to the people doing the work? Or do you make slide comments to the public that comes up here and says something you don't agree with? I suggest you do that. And there was one lady stood up here and she said, you know, there's something about do a bonus system. Well, my concern is the simple fact that a car mechanic does make more than a teacher. Why? Because nobody's doing work today. Check your restaurants. The only restaurants that has a complete staff is the Mexican restaurants, and we know why. They want to work. So I'm suggesting to you that not everybody needs a college degree or immediately go to AB Tech in early college. See, AB Tech used to be a technical school, and that's what we need more of right now. And I think you'll find the money to pay the other workers. Think about what I said. I know some of you don't like me at all. That's okay. I don't care. I'm like Mr. Queen. I'll argue with you if you don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last public speaker, Rob Elliott.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rob Elliott. I'm from Reynolds District. I have 2 kids there, and I'm a PTA volunteer, the advocacy chair for Cane Creek Middle School PTA. As we fully return to learn, I want to comment tonight about an opportunity for our school system to improve the current status of parent and family engagement. Primarily, the opportunity for our school system to shift more toward a model of parent and family partnership, not just engagement. Currently, as called for in board policy, there are indeed venues provided for parents and families to engage with BCS leadership. You can apply and be selected to serve on school improvement teams, school advisory council. You can respond to BCS surveys. You can come here and comment. These venues are examples of engaging families. They do check that box. But in practice, they fall a little short of allowing parents and families of our public schools to collaboratively work towards solutions in partnership with BCS administration. From my personal experience participating in each of these engagement opportunities, it's clear there are some simple ways to adjust and better meet the intent of the policy that established these opportunities in the first place. Primary example is the School Advisory Council. According to board policy, the purpose of the advisory structure is for parents and stakeholders to provide informed advice to the school authorities and be given in such a way as to show the consensus of the advisory council. Having participated in school advisory councils in the past and listening to parents who currently serve on them now, the format of the meeting is more BCS advising parents, not parents and school administration collaborating towards a consensus recommendation to resolve issues at the school, the district, or the county level. The meetings are informative, they are helpful, but they do not provide an opportunity for meaningful collaboration. There are simple improvements that could be made to help these engagement venues live up to their charter. Currently, most of these opportunities are scheduled during the 9 to 5 workday, which limits the number of parents who may be able to attend or even be willing to raise their hand as a volunteer. Also, the selection process appears to rely on word-of-mouth recruitment of parents instead of a broader canvassing across the parent community, which can lead to a lack of diversity of thought. And again, the format of the agenda is not designed in a way to provide for stakeholders to collaborate around an issue and provide a consensus recommendation to school authorities. So simply changing the scheduling and format of these meetings and adjusting the selection process may be a way to be more inclusive and representative of the diversity of the school population. And you may find that there is a very supportive community of families and parents eager to invest time and effort to work collaboratively with you to help find the best solutions to the problems we face in our schools. So I encourage the board and the administration to look for ways that we can better partner with our parents and our families and better live up to the charge of the existing policy.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the action agenda. First item is the budget amendment number 6 with Ms. Thorpe. Are there questions from the board concerning this item?
I don't have a question, but I did just notice a typo that is somewhat substantive, so I just want to make sure that we address it. Under the State Public School Fund, there's an extra 1. So the State Public School Fund is amended to reflect an increase of, and this looks like it's $4,800,189, when actually it's just $481,189 according to the chart below. So just want to get that corrected before we approve it. Other than that, I'm fine with it.
All right, thank you. Other questions or comments from board members? None, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we approve this amendment with that one
That
small
correction.
change. Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, the approval of funding request for current expense and capital appropriation for submission to the 22-23 preliminary budget to county commissioners. I will just tell the audience and everybody in here, we spent the entire afternoon on this topic. Are there questions now? Hearing none, I don't see any questions. I think you've done a good job. Do we have a question?
Wait.
You have something you want to talk to us about.
So, based on the unanimous recommendation from the board members during the work session, I have gone back and created the salary schedules that meet the state legislation to ensure that all pay grades meet the $15 base pay and/or the 2.5 required increase from the state, plus the 10.77% LSU on top of the base pay. And I want to make sure you're very clear. These schedules match all of that, and I want to make sure you understand that this is what you're voting on, because in the HIL consultant salary schedules, there are some pay grades that do not meet the 2.5 state legislated increase. That this is the devil in the details, but I want to make sure you are aware that those salary schedules that are in the HIL, there's some of them that do not meet that 2.5 salary increase that is required by law. So we have built them based on what you guys fully, unanimously recommended during the work session. Any questions on that?
Board members, do you have
So
questions?
what you're saying is some of them are somewhat higher than what's in the recommendation from the consultants. Is that what you're saying then? To meet those requirements?
Questions? I think it was
No, I'm just trying to reach for some water.
I believe we understood this and worked it out this afternoon, and I appreciate you going from that lengthy meeting this afternoon, crunching these numbers and bringing them back to us so that we can approve a base salary of $15.50.
No.
Okay, tell us what we approved.
$15 minimum start with a 2.5% required state legislated amount, plus the 10.77 on top of that base pay, and we remove the compressions and we spread it through the years and spread it through the pay grades.
And we're going to ask maintenance to sing that song about through the years. I believe we've got a music teacher somewhere in this county that can help you with that.
I just want to echo this, though, because this is important. I'm looking up there, and I see all those faces every day. I walk around this building, and those are our veterans up there. So that compression of that scale means a whole lot to those veterans up there. So understand that that's been a real concern. If any of you heard what was presented, that's going to get taken care of with the proposal 100% approved by this board.
And that, I believe that starts July 1, does it?
As long as everything's approved.
I was really at that meeting all afternoon, let me just tell you. Go ahead.
As long as it's approved here, then we have to take it to the county commissioners on the 10th, which they have to approve this for it to go through.
So for our funding request then, based on the presentation that we had earlier, there were 3 items. The second and third item are staying the same, correct?
That is correct.
So could you tell us again what new number, that it was originally 7.1 million and some change, some large change. And so that first number, before we have a motion, let's be clear about what we're voting on. What is that first number now?
Is $15,237,875 for the salary and benefits section only.
Okay. It would be my honor to make a motion that we change this recommendation to that number for the first request and then leave the two other requests as they were.
And the grand total would be the $23,906,664.
You also have to approve the entire budget. It's more than just those three things. So.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Don't rain on our parade.
I'm sorry.
yes.
Those were the three big new things. But we got to pay for all the other things too.
All right, I have a motion. Could I get a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank
No, but
goodness.
can I say something really quick? I'm sorry. I think it's really important that the public hear what she said. In order for this to work, the county commissioners have to approve this budget. So I would just encourage everyone in here to make sure that you're reaching out to your county commissioners and really encouraging them to approve this budget.
And personally, that means going to the commissioners' meeting. I mean, put on your Sunday best, go in and behave, and then sit around and let them look at you and know that you are the people that put them in those positions. Just a note. The next item is Haw Creek Elementary School Additions and Renovations Project, Kitchen Renovations. Are there questions for Mr. Fearley? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
A second?
Second, Madam Chair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, School Nutrition Paid Lunch Equity. Questions for Ms. Payne? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, sole source procurement request, Lexia Voyager Sopris. Did I not say it right?
Don't you got it pretty good?
The questions for
Can
the person in charge.
Can someone just define sole source and help understand what that is? The letters we went through last month, I think, right? We had a presentation on that program. But the sole source procurement, what that term means, because we don't see that every time when we get a request to approve a purchase, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on why that's different.
So the sole source is that is the only vendor that provides that product, whether it be a specific curriculum item. Is that the letters program?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so they are the only vendor that provides that specific product. We can't bid it.
And do you feel comfortable when we are in these types of situations like this that we are spending the right amount of money for what we're getting? Does that make sense? That's our big charge, is making sure that what we do spend, we're accountable for what we do, and I want to feel better about that process.
Right. So these are curriculum items that are vetted through the curriculum department.
Okay.
That is brought to purchasing. They have done research. They've either got information from DPI on items that they want the curriculum taught through, or they've done all the research, and these are the items that are brought to purchasing that we know there's no other vendor out there to get a competitive quote on. So we are doing our very best and managing, making sure that we're getting what we need to be getting for our students.
And so from a curriculum perspective, you feel good about this, and there's some others as well. Thank you.
They are DPI approved. Sole source goes to DPI and then comes back.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, sole source procurement request, Ward Science, VWR International LLC. Questions for these people? I think this has something to do with science.
Summer programs, right?
Summer
In the
programs.
summer program, yeah.
Okay, so no questions. Could I get a motion to approve?
I will happily approve for anything that's science.
They appreciate that. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sole source procurement request, Amplify Education. Questions in this regard? He is seeing none. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we're at Inca High School, use of capital outlay athletic allotment, and this has to do with the purchase of a lawnmower, I think. Is that right, Mr.?
I think it's a tractor. I think
Tractor,
it's a
well,
bigger.
lawnmower tractor. You know, I'm from Weaverville, you're from Inca, it's two different things. Okay, so that being said, are there questions for Mr. Burleson?
I have one quick question. The amount on the bid was for 27,000 something, and the amount on our memo is 29,000, which is what we're voting on. I'm making the assumption that the difference is the tax amount. Am I correct about that? Okay. Just always like to check my assumptions. Thank you.
Any other questions? We expect to see Mr. Burleson on this as soon as it is approved. Could I get a motion to approve?
Also move.
And second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any maintenance person that wants to go out and give individual instruction to Mr. Burleson so he doesn't damage that piece of equipment would be duly appreciated. Appointment to the school appointment to the School Capital Fund Commission. This position was vacated by Mr. Queen, and are there nominations from the board?
Well, Madam Chair, I think that it would be very fitting to nominate an old country boy from Georgia to fill this position, and that would be Mr. Pat Bryant.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, so I'll go ahead and vote.
Assuming Mr. Bryant accepts.
He's from Georgia.
He doesn't get a choice, no.
Yeah.
They might not want me back. I was on the first 2 years of the School Capital Fund Commission.
The old country boy from Georgia's going up there and
I
help them
didn't realize, I
spend
thought
their
I was the
money.
only, I thought I was the only one that argued a lot. I didn't know Max argued.
Oh,
and
Lord
was-
have mercy.
was,
So.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I have a motion to appoint. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
You know, Mr. Bryant was there when this commission was first created, and then he allowed Mr. Queen to go in and do it. So it's just fitting that Mr. Bryant can go back and show him what an old country boy from Georgia can do when it comes to counting money. Okay, consideration for Mr. Dr. Baldwin to talk to us about Return to Learn.
He's actually.
I want you to talk with him in the church, and I want you to go to NCAA, and you should check out every name that's on here to go to the commission meetings. If they can put their name on here, they can go meet the commissioners. Thank you.
Well, I'm so honored to be presenting the favorite, I know the board's favorite part of the agenda, the Return to Learn, exploring our policy. Just a reminder,
Science.
we've done for the last 10 sessions. This is the reason that this, by state law, is currently in place. Board must review your face covering policy decision every month. That still remains. As you recall, there was a shift, both the CDC and North Carolina DHHH level, in terms of the metrics that they proposed in terms of public health. And one of the keys was, of course, what's happening in terms of hospital admissions, especially relevant to school-aged children. And so we provided the update. I want to recognize Ms. Matthews because she's so diligent on this. Make sure it's updated weekly. You can see for the prior week, we had hospital admissions, 254. And again, now these are state numbers. This is not Buncombe County. These are state numbers. In terms of the emergency room visits for COVID symptoms, 2%. Now, I think we do know, we heard from our county health director that indeed the most recent variant, there are some indications from the public health end that they're seeing somewhat of an increase. But in terms of the key metrics from our standpoint, and these are certainly two key metrics. Hospitalization trends among children. Again, and it might be a little hard to see, but for the week ending April 23rd, again, COVID-19 confirmed patients, those newly admitted, statewide, 254 patients. But more importantly, from our standpoint, when you look at our students, 17 and under, that percentage of those 254 were 3%. So again, relatively low. We are seeing nothing like the numbers that we reported to you 8, 9, 10 months ago. You might recall that I think this is actually the third meeting since we adopted the new metrics, and the two keys for us in terms of continuing to update data and making sure we're looking on a daily basis what's going on in our schools. We determined that one of the keys was the number of student and staff positive cases and quarantines to make sure that we don't see some type of significant increase over a 14-day. We looked for a pattern. Remember, we just can't look at a single day. And then that did allow, the board gave me the opportunity, if that so happened, that those current optional face covering policies could be tightened. Again, we're seeing nothing in terms of numbers that approach that. Second key metric was the new cases rising to 200 or more out of 100,000, and community level rises to high, and both of those 7-day averages. And the 7-day averages, remember, it used to be 14, and it moved back to 7, back to 14, now back to 7 again. And so specifically looking at new COVID-19 admissions and then the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. So when we look to the new metric scale that's provided, you'll see for Buncombe County that, again, per 1,000, our COVID cases are at 91.5, and hospital admissions per 100,000 at 1.2. And both of those indicators place us in low levels in the green. The last time Kim and I took a look at the state map, I think there was one system, if I'm not mistaken, it was Alamance Burlington, that had moved into the yellow medium category. So based upon this, it is my recommendation to you, the board, that we maintain the current mask optional face covering guidelines as you approved all the way back on April 7th, 2022. Any questions?
Thank you. Could I get a motion from the board to accept this recommendation?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The consent agenda, the minutes from April 7th for the regular open session, April 21 for the special call meeting, personnel report, Bell Elementary School request to change banking institutions, Asheville City School bus drivers moved from Ash to Okay, we just need to change our agenda and delete that piece.
Next month.
Okay, sorry. The policies for second reading are policy 2125, 7315, confidential information, policy 4300, student behavior policies, policy 6320, use of student transportation services, policy 7100, recruitment and selection of personnel, policy 7130, licensure, policy 7530, military leave, and policy 7820, personnel files. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have information pieces. Our next board meeting will be June the 2nd, if anybody can believe that. Also on your agenda, you have the list of all the graduations and the times and places where those would occur. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Madam Chair, I gratefully move that we adjourn this meeting.
Could I get a grateful second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Pray. Oops. Okay. Praise the Lord.